Alright, so this is part 6 to what if Deku had the Blacklight virus. Before we start this what if, I would like to say that there are 3 what ifs that I'm going to do later on this week. And I want you guys to choose which ones you want to come out first. Alright? So, the first one I thought I would like to do is not a My Hero what if, it's actually a JoJo what if. And this is going to be what if Jonathan had a stand. Right? Jonathan from part 1. That's going to be one of the ones I'm considering doing. The other 2 are My Hero what ifs. The first one out of those 2 are what if Deku had the Wrath state. And what I mean by this is that the Wrath state from Dragon Ball Super Broly, the Wrath state is when he becomes very angry and has yellow eyes with that green aura. That's the Wrath state. That's what I'm talking about. That's the English name. I don't know how to pronounce the Japanese version, so I just call it the Wrath state. That's I'm pretty sure that's the official title, the official translated title. And then the third one is what if Deku had the powers of Majin Buu. Some of these what ifs were suggested by the comment section, so I am I'm looking at all the comments and seeing which ones I'm able to do. So I'll pin a comment. I'll pin my comment that says which one will you want, and just put if you want JoJo, just say JoJo and then write your comment. If you want the Wrath State one, say just type in Broly and then the rest of your comment. If you want Boo, then just type in Boo and then the rest of your comment. And I'll know that you'll cast your vote that way, because I can't do a poll since I'm not at 1,000 subscribers and I can't use the community tab yet. So yeah, and I'm gonna do all these what ifs. I just want to know which one should I have a priority over the others, so I would know which ones people want to see more, because I want to vary my content. Alright, so I could keep you guys' attention. So with that being said, let's get into the what if. So we just got done with the sports festival, and Deku had won, and he overheard Ida talking about his brother and how he was injured by the hero killer. So when we get back to class, this is when everyone needs to choose a hero name, and Midnight comes in to kind of review the names. So everything comes, it's basically the same as it is in canon, except for Bakugo, after having this epiphany after fighting Deku, he's actually more chill and more relaxed than he is in canon, because with this fight with Deku actually taught him humility to a certain point. Right, he's so hot-blooded to a certain degree, but not as much as it is in canon. So instead of going with his normal name like King Explosion Murder, he's gonna go with just King Explosion, right? Because he's kind of lost this angry version of himself. And everyone's hero names are kind of the same, except for Deku. I don't think he would go with that. There was this title that I wanted to give him. There was 2 hero names that I was thinking of. His subtitle before the actual hero name would be Predator, so it'd be the Predator Hero. And then the 2 names I was thinking of is either The Cure or Patient Zero. So you guys could vote on that too. So you could tell me which one you prefer more than the other, and I'll go with that. But for right now, I'll just go with Cure, because I like that name. But Patient Zero is also another one I came up with. So if you want that one, just comment down and I'll change it to that. When we get to the internships, the offers are it's similar to what it is in the anime, but different, because Deku won, so he has the most offers. And I would say second would be Todoroki, because he's the son of Endeavor. And then Bakugo would get third, since he got second place. And he showed his skills off in the game, or in the sports festival, I mean. So Deku's having a really hard choice to choose what he wants, because there's just so many offers. And so he does that thing where he mumbles and he's trying to find the best offer. And then later on that day, All Might comes up to him and says, "Hey, you just got an offer from my old teacher. Here's the address if you want to go." And that's actually Gran Torino. And since he's All Might's old teacher, he wants to experience how All Might was able to learn One for All. And at this point, he's able to use 100%, but he doesn't know how to spread it out through his body. Right? He can only do certain parts, but he doesn't really have any backlash from it. So he decides to go to Gran Torino's for the internship. Ida still goes to Manuel's internship so he could be in the same city as the hero killer staying in Hoshu. I believe that's the city. So when Deku gets to the place, right, to Gran Torino's house, he sees an old man lying in a pool of something red, and he thinks he's dead. So he screams, but it turns out he's alive. And Deku starts to calm down, and he puts his bags down. Granted, these bags are not full of his hero costume, because he doesn't need one, because he could make his own. I explained that in I think part 4 or 3, I'm not sure. But basically his biomass can create his own suit. And Gran Torino was kind of surprised, where's your suit? And he's like, oh, I don't really need one. And Gran Torino does that thing where he pretends like he's senile, and Deku's like, I don't have time to waste. I want to get the most out of this internship. So then Gran Torino, he's like, alright, hit me with a full, smash. And he's like, what? I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna hurt you, old man. And then he starts zipping across the room in every which direction, trying to hit Izuku or Deku. But since he has the armor ability, he just turns that on and he doesn't really feel anything. But it's still hard for him to hit him since he's going so fast. So Deku, when he's trying to hit him, he does a very, very low percentage hit, less than 1%, because he doesn't want to hurt him, and he doesn't want to destroy the place, because his full 1% is way stronger than a 5% from Canon Deku. So I would say that he would hit Gran Torino, knocking him to the floor, but not really injuring him at all. But his microwave still gets destroyed, and he has to get a new one. Alright, so later on, Gran Torino would be like, I'll go and get something to eat, and you go and you can just clean up the mess. So when Gran Torino comes back, he comes back with his fishy cakes and a new microwave, and Deku sets it up, and Gran Torino's like, hey, let's just snack on these and we'll explain how you can improve your quirk and One for All. So Deku puts that big plate into the microwave, and when he brings it out to give to Gran Torino, he bites onto the fishy cakes and they're still frozen. And he explains you can't do that, it's too much of a big plate and it can't turn. Deku apologizes because he didn't know this, and he gets an idea so it's only heating up one side. So he gets the idea of how the egg in the microwave, it's not supposed to explode. So he gets the idea what if I spread, I need to think of this quirk as something as extension of my body, so I need to spread that energy throughout my body. So that's what he does. He develops full cowling, and it's pretty easy for him to move in this. So when Gran Torino does that another challenge, like, hey, you gotta hit me in like 3 minutes, Deku's actually able to do it, instead of like how he was in the anime where it took him like the entire day and he still wasn't able to do it. So they still explain on like different ways of how to use One for All, and the extent how it works, and how different users have used it in the past. So Deku asks Gran Torino if he could have a piece of his hair, and Gran Torino's like, what? Why would you want a piece of my hair? I'm not into that kind of stuff, kid. And then Deku's like, no, it's part of my other quirk. And he's like, oh, I see. What does it do? And he's like, my quirk is called Living Virus. Depending on what biomass I consume, I can gain different powers. And he's like, oh yeah, really? Alright, here, kid. And he gives him a piece of his hair, and Bioflesh surrounds it just like before. And Gran Torino's surprised. He's like, whoa, that's pretty interesting, kid. And when he does this, this is the part where Deku actually gets the ability to glide, because there's like holes in like the bottom of Gran Torino's like feet, and the way that gliding works in the lore, if I believe I've read this in a comment, but I'm not, like a comment on a different video, on like a prototype video, but I'm not sure if it's canon, but I'm pretty sure it is because it makes sense. The way that the glide works, the way they explain it scientifically is that there's little holes on the back of Alex Mercer's like legs and arms, and they shoot out like kind of like blood, and that it's kind of like they described it as coming like a jet, and that's how the way he like glides. So we're gonna give that power to Deku, and at this point I don't think it would need to be it's not weak at all, because it can't really be weak when it comes to gliding. So he would get that skill. And Gran Torino's like, you need some more combat experience, so we're gonna go to Tokyo, I believe. No, it wasn't Tokyo, but it was somewhere near Tokyo. It was like I forgot what the name was called, but then they go on the train to go there. When they're on their way to Tokyo, that's when a hero crashes through the train, and the Nomu follows after him. This is the point in the story where Gran Torino actually tackles the Nomu and says, kid, stay here. He goes and tackles the Nomu going across town, and this is when Deku tries to follow. Now knowing that he has the glide ability, he glides across the town, slowly falling and then jumping up once again to glide. And he sees a fire and he goes towards it. He sees other pros fighting, and this is where he sees Manuel, and he talks about how Ida actually ran off by himself. So at this point, Deku kind of knows from watching the news that the hero killer should be in Hojo or Hosho. That's the city that they're in currently, and believe that's the name. So he knows that Ida must be looking for the hero killer here. So he goes around town trying to look for him, and Ida, when he gets to the hero killer, he basically explains like, I'm going to defeat you. You're going to remember my name, the name of a hero, Ingenium. And he basically gets cut and put in his place. That's when Stain says, why is a child dressing up as a hero? And that's when Ida says like, am I not even a threat to you? And this kind of stops Stain from ending the life of Native, the hero that he was about to kill. So that's when what's his name? Deku comes in to kind of help Ida. And what he does is that he's like, oh my god, Ida, are you okay? Kind of ignoring Stain. And Stain sees this and he's kind of surprised because he would think that he would be like a one of those heroes just looking for fame and fortune, and he would go for him instead of trying to help the others. And Stain tries to go and attack him, and Deku does a counter attack. If you ever seen Prototype 2, you could do a counter attack with your shield where you bash his shield and the shield actually has spikes on it. So that's what Deku kind of does with one of his arms. And he still doesn't pay any attention to Stain. And Stain's like, wow, this kid's actually a hero. He's actually helping, these people instead of focusing on me. Someone who, if he would capture or even kill, he would become famous beyond his dreams. So Stain starts to respect him. And that's when Ida's like, Midoriya, you shouldn't be here. This doesn't concern you. Please run. And Native would say, would tell him to run because he doesn't want him to get involved since he's a student. But this is when Deku uses his biomass to heal Ida and Native, but he wouldn't keep the virus in them. He would just keep it in there for enough for them to get healed, but then he would take it out because he doesn't want them to be infected. So we have Native and Ida at their full strength at this point in the story. After he gets them both healed, Deku, with his arm behind his back, starts to text people he knows their location so they could bring other pro heroes. Because even though Midoriya or Deku's very strong and very adaptable, he doesn't know the quirk that this guy has. He could have something where it nullifies their powers or something, and that's how he was able to kill other heroes. So he doesn't know, so he does that as a safety precaution. And he tells Stain, for the crime of killing other heroes, I will take you down. And Stain kind of laughs and replies and says, that wouldn't be a bad way to die, dying from an actual hero like you, but I would prefer All Might to kill me. And so they start to fight. Deku would try to do some kicks and things of that nature because he has a shoot style, a simpler version of shoot style, because that's what he tried to use against All Might. So I think that or he would know, before I say anything else, he would know somewhat of his quirk. It has to do with his blood, but he doesn't know the extension to what it does exactly. All he knows is that it stops you, but he doesn't know anything else other than that. So Izuku or Deku would try to avoid anything that would try to cut him, so he would use his armor. And with the help of Native and Ida, it's a pretty easy fight. We don't know anything about Native. I've tried to look up stuff about him, but there's literally nothing. There's no quirk. There's no anything, right? No one knows his quirk because it was just not in the story. I don't even think it's in any guidebooks. But I would assume it's similar to the hero Snipe. If you don't know who that is, it's that cowboy looking character that's a teacher at UA. I would assume it's something like that, since cowboys and Indians, even though it's a Native American, I know that's politically incorrect, but I'll just say it anyways, just because that term is used more often. Cowboys and Indians, I mean. So I would assume it's kind of like a counterpart to him, where he has good accuracy with weapons of that culture. So yeah, Deku would try to I would think he would have the speed advantage due to One For All and his higher jumps due to the virus, and his ability to glide due to Gran Torino. And I would feel like he would be able to put more of those holes near the bottom of his feet, similar to Gran Torino. but only using his instead of using air, he would use his like blood and things like that to like propel him forward. So it's a little bit, it's kind of a weird like visual, I know that, but it's still, that's the only way that he's able to move that quickly. So he would tie him up after he would, knock out Stain. He would tie him up and remove all the weapons. And this is when the other pro heroes come around with Todoroki. And they're like, why are you kids here? And they would look, is that the hero killer? And that's when the Nomu comes and picks up Deku. And that's around the same time that, or no, never mind. That's when Stain gets out of his his ropes and goes after, he licks like the blood that fell off the Nomu and goes and rushes after him. This is when he stabs the Nomu in the brain, causing it to fall, and he pins down Midoriya or Deku. And this is before Deku can even react. He starts his speech, and this is what actually intimidates everyone that's around him. He talks about how the heroes of today are just hypocrites, only in for money and fame, and that the only hero that's even worthy of killing him is All Might. And he talks about how he will change the world by running the streets red with the blood of the hypocrites. And this sends a chill down everyone's spine, and it becomes silent for a moment. And this is when his knife actually drops and breaks the silence. And this is the point where they realize that he's knocked out. And later on, they find out that one of his broken ribs actually punctured his lungs. So later on, they still go to the hospital for Ida to check if there's still anything wrong with him, just in case, not as like a serious thing. And this is where Ida apologizes to Deku and says that he wasn't thinking straight. He only had revenge in his mind, and he wishes for his forgiveness. And Deku's like, yeah, I understand. If someone were to do that to my family, I don't know if I could restrain myself either. So this kind of ensures Ida a little bit. And this is when that chief of police of that town comes in, the dog cop. He basically says what you did was illegal, but we're gonna look the other way and give the credit to Endeavor. And yeah, if we go, I'll explain what happened to the other students right here. Bakugo, he still goes to Best Genius since he's like one of the top heroes, but I would say he would take more than what he did in the anime. Best Genius would talk about how his behavior and how he has to kind of like calm or try to change people like him so that they don't become villains. And Bakugo, even though he doesn't like this, he still takes the lecture to heart, and he agrees with Best Genius. He's like, yeah, I wasn't that good of a person in the past, and I'll try to change. And he kind of does throughout this 2 weeks that he's alone, or with 2 weeks with the internship. So Ida, he wouldn't have that injury that he had for his hand, so his hand's still all right. And All Might would talk with the chief police of his town and talk about how these Nomos and Stains were connected, and how these Nomos have multiple quirks, so they think that it's all for one. And this is where I'll end this part. So guys, like I said earlier, vote on what if you want. So if you want JoJo, in the beginning of your comment, just write JoJo, and then the rest of your comment, if you want the Broly what if, just say Broly, and then the rest of your comment, if you want Boo, just write Boo, and then the rest of your comment, because I'll do all of these what ifs. So don't worry, if yours doesn't get the number one pick, I'll still like, you know, do that what if just at a later point, because I want to know which one you guys want as a priority right now. So yeah, just like, comment, and subscribe. And this is the end of the video. So yeah,